Welcome, Gunners, to Gooner Pavilion, and this is the Arsenal 2025 recap. Because every year in football tells a story. Some are loud, some are painful, some fade quickly. But 2025 for Arsenal is going to stay with a lot of Arsenal fans for a long time. Not because it ended perfectly, it did end with excitement. It's because of what happened throughout the course of the year. This year was about authority, margins, scrutiny, and belief. So, in this Gooner Pavilion episode, we're not doing a table by table recap. We're talking about why Arsenal 2025 mattered, why it triggered people, why it hurt, and why even now it still feels different. Let's start with the part everyone noticed first. Before we talk about how good Arsenal were in 2025, we have to talk about how little credit they got for it. You know what's funny about 2025? Arsenal could be top of the league, dominating games, controlling matches, and somehow the conversation is still, yeah, but. So let's just look back at 2025. Because this year, Arsenal wasn't just being good, we were undeniably good and still not being treated like it. Every win came with conditions. Yeah, but they're boring. Yeah, but it won't last. Yeah, but next season. We had it again this year. Loud, smog, recycled. Patrice Evra calling Arsenal Netflix FC. Always another season. Always another episode. And the mad thing is, he said it while Arsenal were leading the league. That's the point. Results don't matter. Control doesn't matter. Consistency doesn't matter. Let's deal with facts in 2025. Arsenal closed 2025 top of the Premier League, 5 points clear. Lots of dominant wins, best defensive structure in the league. And yet, what did we hear? Are they exciting enough? Can they really do it? The double standards. Because Arsenal fans started clocking it. When other teams scrape win, it's mentality. When Arsenal control games is boring, even if it happens in the same weekend. When other managers show emotion is passion. When Mikel Arteta says it, we deserve more. Suddenly it's bitterness. Same behavior, different judgment. And when the football argument stopped working, they came for the fans. Too loud, too confident, too online, overbearing. Funny how nobody complained when Arsenal were quiet, broken, and eighth. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Arsenal stopped being banter, and people didn't know how to process that. Because this team doesn't need miracles. This team expects to win. And when winning becomes normal, praise disappears and resentment takes its place. So when people say Arsenal still don't get credit, it's not paranoia, it's pattern recognition. Because 2025 wasn't about proving Arsenal could compete. It was about discovering that even when you do, they still move the goalposts. And that's what made it strange. Because if the narrative didn't match the reaction, we had to look at the football itself. And once you did, one thing became clear. This was a different Arsenal. Arsenal looked unstoppable when they were in control. The 5-1 against Manchester City wasn't an ambush. It wasn't City on an off day. This was Arsenal setting a tempo, creating muscle memory for future games. City had the ball, Arsenal had the match. Then Europe happened, another critical point in the Arsenal growth. The 7-1 away victory at PSV Eindhoven. This was an announcement that Arsenal were ready to compete in Europe. And then Real Madrid came to the Emirates. 3-0. Declan Rice, 2 free kick goals. Amazing. What a night. The Emirates night, there was no nerves. They played the game and they showed Europe what could be possible. Then there were growth games. The derby with Tottenham. The Wolves win with 10 men when Mars Lewis Kelly was erroneously sent off. 2025, Arsenal handled a lot. They didn't win loudly, they won professionally. So when people still say Netflix FC, They are reacting to what Arsenal used to be. In 2025, this team expected to win games. But I get you. I understand. Elite years are typically measured in trophies. We understand that. But 2025 was remarkable for Arsenal because Arsenal grew in those years. And listen, there are some things that hurt, some things that Arsenal fans will look back in 2025. We think about the game against West Ham. One moment, one lapse, one goal, full time. I know the Emirates wasn't angry. It was silent because everyone felt it. Control doesn't always guarantee outcomes. Then in Europe, there was heartbreak. Arsenal against Paris Saint-Germain. Arsenal weren't overwhelmed. This was a night that Arsenal met a goalkeeper that was relentless and was in form. And PSG waited and took their moments. And what Arsenal learned was that in Europe, at this level, the margins make a difference. Away at Liverpool, Arsenal competed. It seemed like they were out of sight in that game and then dragged themselves back to reinforce who they are and a team that no longer gets scared to go to big teams and play their game. So when people say Arsenal fell short in 2025, it's too simple. Because Arsenal reached a lot of levels in what they did in 2025. But I think the key is that the reaction to Arsenal really, really changed. Arsenal didn't become controversial because they failed. They became controversial because they disrupted familiar hierarchies. Behavior suddenly mattered. Celebration mattered. Remember the celebration police, the Jamie Carragers of this world. Composure became something that was banded at Arsenal players. Too nervous, too emotional. When City do it, it's mastery. When Arsenal do it, it's police. It's not coincidence, it's discomfort. But the noise didn't fracture Arsenal. It clarified them. The louder it got outside the club, the clearer things were inside it. The real shift in 2025 wasn't confidence. It was relief. You weren't watching and hoping anymore. You were watching and understanding, what Arsenal were doing. For years, belief at Arsenal felt conditional. Win a few games, belief rises. Lose one, belief collapses. In 2025, that changed. Belief wasn't tied to one result. It was tied to standard. Fans trusted how this team played, even when the outcome hurt. The real shift in 2025 wasn't confidence. It was relief. In 2025, that weight lifted for Arsenal. Not because Arsenal were perfect, but because they were coherent and belief stopped being emotional. Another thing in 2025 was the connection Arsenal formed with the fans. Every player wasn't flawless, but nobody was hiding. When the pressure came, certain players didn't drift to the edges of the game. They stepped forward. You saw it in Bukayo Saka, taking responsibility even when teams loaded his side. You felt it in Declan Rice, setting the tempo, slowing down the game, controlling the game when it needed. And don't forget the set-piece quality that he brings to Arsenal games. You trusted in William Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes because when everyone is chaotic around them, they bring a sense of calm when things are speeding up. And one thing in 2025 that captures this year much better than any stat? Gabriel Jesus. Gabriel Jesus scored Arsenal's first goal of the year. And then his season was cut short. Long-term injury, out of the rhythm, out of the noise, out of the team. But when he came back, he scored Arsenal's last goal of the year. I don't think that's coincidence. I think that's a symbol of continuity. He started the year setting the tone. He finished it reminding us of what the standard was. Even when the season moved on without him, the identity didn't. Now, people are going to debate Mikel Arteta forever. the tactics, the substitutions, the finer details. But in 2025, fans bought into something deeper. They believed in the culture. Accountability before excuses. They didn't feel like a team chasing success. It felt like a club rebuilding its spine. There was something else that came quietly back in 2025. Going to the Emirates stopped being like an emotional gamble. You weren't bracing for chaos, you were settling in. Fans weren't counting minutes and scanning the bench in panic. They were watching patterns, watching structure, watching a team they recognized. Win or lose, there was a sense of continuity. That's belonging. That's something that 2025 is going to leave in the hearts of Arsenal fans. So when people argue about Arsenal 2025, they will argue about trophies. They will argue about margins. But here's one thing that can't be argued. This was the year Arsenal stopped asking for permission. Stop waiting to be liked. Stop shrinking when the scrutiny arrived. This team didn't just compete. It stood for something. And that's why the noise got louder. And that's why the belief stayed, even without a perfect ending. It reminded fans what it felt like to trust the team again. Whatever comes next, Gunners, titles, heartbreak, glory, frustration, this year reconnected the club and its people, and that matters. This has been the Gooner Pavilion end of year review. If this season meant something to you, if you felt the shift, you already know why. Hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you at the next one. We go again.